We got a great story. As many of you know, Goliath Resources is a junior resource exploration company with precious metal projects in the Golden Triangle of BC. They also have a project in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt of Quebec. Today, their market cap is roughly $25 million. And presenting this story today is the company's president and CEO, Roger Rosmus. By way of background, Roger holds an MBA from the University of Western Ontario at the Richard Ivey School of Business. He has over 25 years of investment banking experience and was previously the president of Aberdeen Gould, where he successfully completed over 30 M&A transactions. By way of background, Quinton has a PhD in geology from the Colorado School of Mines. He has a 25-year experience in the industry with Homestake, Newcrest, and Newmont, and was also the founder of Novo Resources. Gentlemen, it's really great having you here. Roger, please take it away.
Yeah, so essentially we're focused in BC, Golden Triangle, and we've got some greenfield type projects in Quebec. We don't have a lot of time today, so I'm just going to focus on the Golden Triangle, southeast of Stewart, BC. We're extremely close to the Dolly Varden silver mine, as well as more so closer to the Fury's Homestake Ridge deposit. Forward-looking statements. As you can see by way of background here, myself and other folks that typically I've worked with for over 10 years in various capacities. And the newest addition, obviously, is Dr. Hennigh, who's taken the time to join us here today, which I think is great because I think there's quite a few more technical folks on the line. I'm the finance promotional guy, and I like to leave the discussion of the rocks to the professionals here. Current share structure, we're just over about 38 million. It's a little bit more than that. We've been getting quite a few warrant exercises at the moment. They're all in the money from 15 cents to 25 cents. So that number is kind of changing on a weekly basis. But at the moment, fully diluted, roughly 73 million shares. Board and team's got about 15%. Currently, Crescat Capital, Denver-based resource fund. They own about, I think it's about 11.4%. And Quinton is actually their sole advisor when it comes to investing in resource names. There was some news back in earlier February, a couple weeks back there, where Eric Sprott will be coming in, taking a toehold of around 8.5% ownership of the company. This will be post financing. Crescat Capital, they do have a right of first refusal for participating in future fundings of the company to maintain their ownership, and they've elected to own a 9.9% ownership in the company, so they'll be participating in this placement. That'll be closing, I believe, the first week of March, and obviously it'll affect the share structure, but we're doing the financing at 55 cents. There's another small sidecar, but when we're doing it 60 cents. Everything's fully subscribed, and ultimately will be fully funded for this year's program. Again, just on the map here, we're by the star here, you can see the Homestake Ridge, you got the Dolly Varden, and you can see the rest of the other companies in the triangle. So what we're excited about is our brand new discovery. We call it the Sure Bet Zone. We call it the Sure Bet Zone because what we have found is essentially this shear zone exposed at surface for over 1,000 meters of strike. It's got 500 meters of vertical relief, and then it has about 1,000 meters of inferred down dip extent, where it disappears into the Hazelton Volcanics on the backside of the mountain. The average grade that we're seeing is about almost 11 grams gold equivalent, with an average width of just over 9 meters. So in real gold terms, it's just under 7.6 grams per ton gold. And I've got a short video here that I'll play for you that gives you a really good perspective of what's going on here and why we're so excited. I'll stop it here. So what we did, so in 2019, we spent literally 2 days on the ground. The guys banged a bunch of rocks on these exposed structures at surface that we found through using LiDAR, and went back. Last year, we spent a total of 14 man days, and we took extensive channel cuts, as you can see, down this exposed shear zone and mapped it, and that's how we have come up with these the average grade and average width. the whole time. Here's some volcanics. We'll just stop it there. So what we're showing is what we believe to be the continuous structure that we can't see, and some of the proposed drill holes. And maybe Quinton, you want to take her from here?
Yeah, sure. Look, I'll speak to the image in front of everybody. Look, the deposit type here, I mean, this is basically a structural zone that hosts what looks like a relatively deep level, what we call intermediate sulfidation vein. It's got base metal, but it's also got considerable silver and gold. It is the genesis of it isn't necessarily understood, but if you put it in the context of the rest of the camp, the southern part of the Golden Triangle, there's actually a number of systems in this region. Roger brought up some of the nearby neighbors. Dolly Varden, that's actually more VMS for the most part. I think they do have some structurally controlled things like this as well. But you have other players in this area. As you go northward, for example, north of this area, you come to Red Mountain, that big, basically a big vein system that's probably associated with an intrusion there or near underlying that area. And then you got things like Porter, Idaho, further up still. You can take this all the way up to, to Ascot, up to the old Premier mine and that country. But if you put everything in context, I mean, this is basically one giant mineral district with high-grade gold-silver veins like this. They all have at least some base metal component. They all have different ratios of gold and silver. Some are at the silver-rich end of the spectrum, like Porter, Idaho. Others are more at the gold-rich end of the spectrum. And I think this one, most of the, if you look at the value of the metal, most of the value is driven by gold. Hence the reason the company has been using gold equivalency to state their numbers. Now, what's the source of the metal here? Well, there is an intrusion immediately to the west, which would be just beyond this yellow polygon that you see here. So there is a potential fluid source that's likely a driver for this system. This structure is fairly low angle. That's not all that uncommon amongst veins in the region. This thing's dipping at about 40, 45 degrees, something like that, off to the west or kind of away from us in this image. What does this target mean? Okay, well, let's look at the average data. So the assays that were taken, the channels across this vein zone that were taken up the strike of it last year are coming in a pretty broad range, maybe say low end 6 gram per ton gold equivalent. But there were a number of channels that were well over 10 grams per ton gold equivalent. It's the nature of veins. You don't get the same grade everywhere. But what could this be? Well, when we first, what caught my attention is the target's going to be reasonably straightforward to test. I mean, that's a big plus, okay? The thing outcrops for over a kilometer strike there. If you wrap it around the hill, there's a lot of strike to work with. And because it's dipping back to the west, the geometry is such that you can put a rig up on top of the hill there and start poking holes, more or less vertical holes or near vertical holes, down to test this structure. That's a great scenario. So what we've got here are drill holes that are close up to the actual outcrop of the vein. That will be some of the first holes we drill. They're snuggled literally right up, say 50 to 100 meters of the exposure of the vein. And we're literally just stepping back into the rock face to drill it. But as you can see, there's some other pads that are further away from us there in this image that are going to be drilled from high up on the mountain, and they'll go down all the way to test this thing several hundred meters down dip. Okay, this is a big bite for a little company to chew in one summer, but I hope that we can get much, if not most, of this drilling done this season. And if so, we can start to actually put numbers around that polygon there. Okay, that, I don't think we'll come up with a resource, but we'll be able to at least conjecture what's probably here. If we hit consistent results like they saw in the chip channel samples, say true widths of 5 to 10 meters, And if it has that kind of a footprint, it's easy to see a target here that's about 1 million to 2 million ounce gold equivalency. Right, that's a great outcome. Now, there's upside from there. First of all, there's another structure that's in the footwall that seems to be somewhat parallel to this. It's like a splay, like a little side fall. That's potential upside as well. You can kind of see it in profile here. The other upside, though, obviously, is if we can prove up what's in this polygon and basically demonstrate to the world that this is a nice, continuous, predictable vein structure, that thing is likely going to go clear down to that intrusion, which is well off to the west here. So it's kind of towards the west end of this image where we have the likely batholithic source or intrusive source. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it could be that what you see here is just the tip of an iceberg. If this vein projects all the way down, and that is indeed the metal source, I would expect to continue to chase this thing down dip, probably see gold increase. That would be the tendency of a system like this. Maybe silver diminishes some, I don't know. But, ultimately this could be a multi-million ounce, but high grade deposit. Okay, so finding another premier mine, that's a tall task, but it is certainly possible in this kind of environment. This is a principal structure. It's not a small little squibby structure like some vein targets. This is a nice fat one. It's got considerable alteration. Before he started the movie, you could see in the topography was toned down. You could actually see there's discoloration over a pretty broad width around the vein. I think that's an indication the fluids really got out into the wall rock for a considerable distance. Again, sign of a good, healthy vein system. So, in summary, the kind of investments that we take here at Crescat, the group I advise here in Denver, are straightforward exploration stories where the company wants to work with us. Like in this case, we laid out this drill program, and once we all agreed, yep, this is how to proceed, and then Crescat put the money in. This is back in when was it? I think in December or so last year.
Yeah, it was December last year, late December.
Yeah, but you see, this is a swing for the fence type exploration play, and it can be executed this year. I like to see value created by a drill bit. So when we put in money, the company must make a commitment to get up there and do the work, do their best to accomplish the work like this. Yes, weather's an issue. Let's hope the weather cooperates. If it does, we can probably get most of this drilling done this year. But the goal is to make a discovery that's going to take this company from, a $25 million market cap to a $250 million market cap or something like that, on the back of a discovery. And while that sounds like a tall task, look, I started helping, what do they call it, SK Mining further up in the Golden Triangle in, I think it was September of 2019. I agreed to help Mac Balcom there. Found a team for him. I built a team for him out of the Colorado School of Mines. I think the stock was at 10 cents when I agreed to help him. Crescat funded SK in May, and then again in August, and then again in November, actually. So we like to keep funding the companies, but SK has gone from really about a zero market cap. My gosh, it was probably less than 10 million market cap. Today it's I think it's over 300 million. So these dreams are possible, and it's all done by making discovery. So these holes they hit what we saw in the chip channels along the surface trace. This could be a good outcome.
Great, thanks, Quinton. I don't know if this will let me continue on. Well, one thing I should mention too here. So we can see it at surface for 1,000 meters, and then it essentially goes under the undercover trees and what have you. But we believe that this from here to the bottom of the valley here is about another it's called another 1,000 meters. So we won't be able to be testing that until probably 2022 once we confirm what we have here or what we think we have here that you're seeing, and then you can see all these other structures as well. The LiDAR, which has barely been touched. We've just taken a few graph samples here and there. This Cloud 9 is about 800 meters roughly off to the northwest. zone. And then in total, there's about 20 of these structures, including displays and so on that Quinton mentioned, that you can just see this thing sort of branching out from somewhere that clearly there's a source nearby.
Let's just stop for just a second there. See that there's a little pink dot way down at the bottom of the hill. Like that, that's a piece of float that was found. It's extremely high grade. Where it comes from, though, is a bit of a mystery. It could be tumbling way down from the sherbet outcrop that goes up the hill there. But there's also a possibility that it's coming out of an outcrop that's kind of buried in the trees further down the hill. That's my bet. If you look at its position there, I don't think it's tumbled. I just don't think that it could do that. I think it's tumbling from the trace of the vein where it goes down into the trees. So that gives you some assurance that the zone is continuing to dip into or under the mountain there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so here's our Cloud 9 here. What will happen this year? So we'll be doing about 4,600 meters of drilling. We're talking about 12 to 14 pads. The guys are going to mobilize. They'll be landing in Terrace around mid-May, getting all the lumber and this, that, and the other things, consumables, getting set up for building pads in June. And then with the idea that the rig will be hopefully turning by July the 1st. And while that's happening, there'll be a team checking out the Cloud 9 here. Probably take some extensive channel cuts as well, and just kind of hopefully at the end of the season, demonstrate how big this thing actually is or could be, type of thing. In addition, I think we're going to do like a mini bulk sample from up around in this part of the zone.
Before you move from here, hold on just a jiffy. Okay, so you can see the plane of the sherbet dipping westward there. That gives you a pretty good profile of it. And your eye can kind of project it further down dip. Okay, well, if you take it down dip, you start to see those vertical structures, structural zones popping up. The topography and the LiDAR really accentuate those vertical features. Okay, those are coming off of the vein zone. They're basically coming out. They're like Cloud 9 is probably leakage coming off of the fluid that fed the main sherbet structure. So basically, it's a leakage zone that's coming up like this. Not to say it couldn't be an important vein in its own right. I mean, this was discovered and is largely unexplored at this point. But the key here is that if you think about it, the fluids that generated Cloud 9 are being tapped from take it down in the ground from the deeper part of the sherbet, is my view. So. That's confirmatory evidence, at least supporting evidence that the dip of the sherbet should go way down into the ground and could be several times the size we presently perceive.
So, Quinton, are you saying there's a shear related to the sherbet?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
it is a principal shear structure. It's not unlike a lot of the structures in the region, okay?
Yeah,
but it's a big one. It's not a little dinky guy, okay? And that was the first thing I checked out when Roger and I started talking. Put me in touch with Manuel and Spencer, who did a lot of the work here. And they gave me a whole heap of photos to look at. I can't go up there, obviously, but, they gave me a lot of photos to look at. And I got the sense that is a major structure, okay? It's not a small one. The vertical ones, I think, are a bit skinnier, okay? They're probably a meter or something wide or something, we'll call it. But the sherbet, no, that's a whopper.
Okay, because it's just when you're showing the topo of this, it looked like there was a lot of structure going on along the hillside in numerous places, and I was just curious are those tied to these high grade zones?
There seems to be high grade where you get these LiDAR, topographic expressions, these structural expressions.
Okay. Well, there's
I do have an image of the LiDAR as well on the next slide.
that would be that's a good exploration tool right there, right?
Sure.
Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. I'll let you go.
Okay. To go down the backside. Yeah, so here's the LiDAR structure. So there's Cloud 9 here, and then there's the sherbet zone. So you can see all these things coming off, right? These sort of branching off. And again, where you see the blue, that's what the guys tested back in that was in 2019. Everything they took, ran some really decent gold and decent silver numbers as well. And then just the map off to the right there is showing where the obviously Dolly Varden and Homestake Ridge, and then more importantly is the red line here, that the contact point between the Hazelton Volcanics and Stahina Group, where it's a known fact that all the major deposits in this area have been found within 2 kilometers of either side of the red line. Quinton, do you want to add something to that at all, or?
Look, while I appreciate the red line, I'll tell you what, there's a lot more gold and silver up in this country than anyone thinks. I'll give you an example. Look, the Bleg work that we did at Escape Mining, for example, and we published this morning, shows you there's an absolute ton of discovery potential in this world. So wouldn't get too obsessed about the red line.
Okay.
I agree with you, Quinton.
We'll get excited about the Bleg over at the Jugger. Yeah, so you can't see the map here, but it's put a very detailed map together of the structure, and which it's really helped a lot. And some of the zones where what's Quinton mentioned, that one sample, I forget it's just a massive number, angular, that we think maybe came off of this cliff zone. So parts of the structure we couldn't even test because you just get cliffed out. And there, the guys have got this thing mapped between, up to 40 meters wide that we'll be testing with. Actually, that'll be our first hole, I think, this year. So I think, again, we'll see at the end of the year what happens with the average widths and so on. But I think this average width is much larger than what's been posted, because unfortunately we're unable to test it because the guy, to go and take channel cuts off a pure cliff, it's just not a good idea. And this is just some of the samples here. This is the main waterfall zone. So that one was like 15 meters, 13 grams gold equivalent. And lower waterfall, again, 14 grams, 10 meters, some really good.
Since Brian asked the question, this gives you a good profile of what the width is, and you can see that the rock is highly, strained, or there's a lot of shearing evident. If you look at the texture, let me see. Even if you look at the texture of the sulfides in the rock, I've got it's kind of dark. I guess you can't see it, but you can see a lot of strain internal to the to the sulfide and the quartz. So this thing's been moving over a long time, and even the mineralization is strained. So it reminds me a lot of even like the Rockmaster, the Rebel.
Rebel Ridge?
Rebel Ridge, yep.
Right. Okay. And here's that big sucker here. Yeah, almost 30 ounces of gold, 97 ounces of silver, almost 13 grams of lead.
And that's that piece that came from the bottom of the hill. And the debate is whether there was nothing that high a grade further up the hill when they got in and did this is crazy grade. All right. So I think that if you look at where they found it and you look at the LiDAR, it looks like this sample rolled down a little rivulet that's further down the hill, but on strike with the sherbet. So I think this is actually originating from a little bit, it's in the tree somewhere. It's hiding on the hill slope.
Is this like massive sulfide almost?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And here's just some of the there's that sample actually give you a good idea. It doesn't really show up well on the camera, but what Quinton was showing you. So great brush textures. And then you can, sorry, go ahead.
Is it high arsenic or any of that, or is it?
Right now it's minimal. Like we're doing some testing right now. We're doing some work at the moment that hopefully we'll be able to publish in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Actually, that was a Quinton's suggestion, and which was great. And we'll have what's that process called, Quinton? I don't have that.
It's a deportment study.
Deportment study. Thank you.
We're doing a deportment study on a couple of different. They're a little bit different from one another, but they should give us a good sense of what the metallurgy of this stuff might be.
Yeah, but so far it's minimal, like parts per billion, minimal. So our gut sense right now is it's not going to be it won't be refractory. It'll be the non. And then I don't know if you can see the numbers here, but anyways, these are the grades of all the channel cuts. It's all on the web page, and you can check that out. And then here's the Cloud 9 that we've mentioned, about 800 meters off to the west there.
Yeah.
And we'll be sort of checking that out again, or more so this year, to just see the extent of that and just see what sort of average widths and so on that what it's looking like. And well, and here's just a sort of a sample here. Yeah, so like even last year, it was the worst. I think the worst year in quite some time, where the guys couldn't even go and channel cut where we took grabs the previous year. So there's just an example here. We got a nice channel here, but it ended because it's just there's too much snow. But hopefully this year, a lot of these areas will be exposed, and the guys can get in there and really go to town on some of these new zones while the drilling is going on. And that's about it, folks. Nice and short and sweet. And I guess we can open up for questions. How's that?
Great. Thanks very much, Roger. If everyone can remember, just unmute yourself, and the floor is open.
Can I ask a few questions? A few more? So do you have a camp fairly close to where you're working at, like from below the valley or top of the
Bill
valley?
on the call, Roger? Can Bill explain all?
Yeah, we're actually, we've got a premises in Kitsault.
Okay.
So it's about a 15-minute chopper ride to the project. So everything will be based out of there and staged.
Okay.
Kitsault. So we can actually drive there and with all the lumber for the pads and the drill rig, et cetera, and the fuel and what have you. So yeah, we're not building camps. We thought we might have to go and stake something and build, but we managed to secure a spot in Kitsault. I believe we'll be sharing the facilities with Hecla Mining as well.
Okay. So basically you got to stage all your drill pads and just fly the guys in and out for the drilling and what have you?
Yeah. So there'll be a night shift and day shift, and then we'll switch out. We'll bring core back at the end of the when we're shifting the men out for the day.
Okay. So what's it like getting infrastructure there? Meaning, like if you were to have to drive and add it to do your thorough work, for bulk samples and all that sort of stuff down the road, is it fairly doable on that project?
You know what? I think grade solves all.
It does, absolutely.
If this is, I think this could be like the premier mine where, you probably, if the grades hold up and it's clear there's size to this thing, I think you could justify raising the money. Look, the company's tightly structured. That's one of the things I looked at. If the share price goes to $2 or $3 on the back of Discovery here, you could raise sufficient capital to go ahead and start thinking about things like that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at as well, Quinton, is the game changer in the Golden Triangle, especially in some challenging topography and weather and stuff, is getting an adit basically put in, and then you drill from the adit to drill off your zones, etc., and then you made a game changer. I'm
finding that like at Rockmaster, that's how they're drilling out the down dip is from underground, and
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even Strike Point's going to have to do the same thing at Willoughby and stuff. But look, very true. But these are where the really exciting discoveries can be made. So it doesn't bother me too much. Hey, I gotta apologize. I got another call I gotta jump onto, but if people want to get a hold of me, Roger knows how. So
You bet. Thanks, Quinton.
thanks, guys.